What if one moment of weakness could change the course of your entire life? That's exactly what happened to Esau, the man who made one impulsive decision and lost everything. He was the firstborn, the rightful heir, destined to carry on God's promise. Yet, in a single act of desperation, he gave it all away, for nothing more than a simple bowl of food. But was his mistake just about hunger, or was there something much deeper happening? And more importantly, could you be making the same kind of choice without even realizing it? In this video, we're exposing the shocking truth behind Esau's decision, the real meaning of his birthright, the devastating consequences of his actions, and the powerful warning his story holds for you today. This isn't just an ancient mistake, it's a pattern we see in our own lives, choosing temporary pleasure over lasting purpose, sacrificing the future for the present. Have you ever made a choice you instantly regretted? Have you ever traded something valuable for something meaningless? What if Esau's downfall is the very lesson you need to avoid your own? Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to hear might change the way you see temptation, priorities, and God's plan for your life. And before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Let's spread this powerful message to those who need it most. Esau's birthright held immense significance in his family and culture. In the biblical context, the birthright was much more than just an inheritance of material wealth. It was the right of the firstborn son to lead the family after the father's death and to receive a double portion of the inheritance, Deuteronomy 21 verse 17. This special status also carried the responsibility of spiritual leadership, as the firstborn was seen as the one to continue God's covenant with their family. For Esau, this birthright was not only a material blessing but also a position of honor and authority within his family and among his people. Esau's character played a crucial role in his decision to trade away his birthright. He was impulsive, driven by his immediate desires rather than long-term goals. Esau's physical strength and skill as a hunter made him a man of action, and he often relied on his abilities to get what he wanted in the moment. His preference for immediate satisfaction, like when he was willing to trade his future inheritance for a bowl of stew, showed his lack of foresight. This starkly contrasted with his younger brother, Jacob, who was more thoughtful, strategic, and aware of the long-term value of the birthright. Esau's behavior, rooted in his impulsive nature, led him to make a decision that would forever change his future. When he returned from hunting one day, exhausted and famished, he saw Jacob cooking stew and demanded some. Jacob saw an opportunity and offered to give Esau food in exchange for his birthright. Esau, in his moment of weakness and hunger, agreed to trade the priceless birthright for a meal. This decision, though seemingly small in the moment, was monumental in its consequences. It was a failure to recognize the value of the birthright and the responsibilities that came with it. In the cultural context of ancient Israel, the birthright was considered sacred and was not something to be taken lightly. The importance of the birthright extended beyond just the material wealth that came with it. It was also tied to the covenant promises God made to the patriarchs. By giving up his birthright so easily, Esau not only forfeited his share of the family inheritance but also his chance to be part of God's greater plan for the nation of Israel. His choice was a direct rejection of God's promises, which makes his decision even more tragic. Esau's willingness to sell his birthright for a bowl of stew demonstrates the dangers of living only for the present moment, without considering the long-term impact of one's choices. It serves as a lesson for us today about the importance of valuing what truly matters and making decisions with an understanding of their future consequences. Just like Esau, we often face moments of temptation that offer immediate gratification but at the cost of long-term fulfillment. His story reminds us to think carefully before making impulsive decisions that could affect our lives and futures. The pivotal moment in Esau's life occurred when he returned from the field famished and exhausted. After a long day of hunting, he was in desperate need of food. As he walked into the camp, he encountered Jacob, who was cooking a delicious stew. Esau, overcome by hunger, asked Jacob for some of the stew, seemingly unaware of the significance of the moment. This simple request would lead to one of the most consequential decisions in the Bible. In his moment of weakness, Esau was not thinking about the long-term impact of his actions. His hunger and desperation clouded his judgment, and he devalued his birthright, the sacred inheritance he was entitled to as the firstborn son. Esau's decision to trade something of eternal significance for a temporary satisfaction reflects how easy it is to make impulsive choices when we're driven by immediate needs. Just like Esau, we sometimes find ourselves making decisions that satisfy our immediate desires, without considering how they might affect our future. Esau's thought process during this moment was fueled by his physical need for food. In his mind, the birthright seemed distant and unimportant compared to the pressing desire for a meal. His words to Jacob, "What good is the birthright to me now?" Genesis 25 verse 32, show how he dismissed the value of his inheritance for the sake of momentary relief. This impulsive decision serves as a warning to us all about the dangers of acting without considering the long-term consequences of our choices, especially when emotions or physical needs are involved. Jacob, on the other hand, saw an opportunity in Esau's weakness and manipulated the situation. Instead of offering food out of compassion, Jacob made an agreement that required Esau to trade his birthright for a mere bowl of stew. This manipulation shows the complexity of the situation. Jacob, who was always more calculating and strategic, seized the chance to gain something significant at Esau's expense. His actions may have been opportunistic, but they also reveal a deeper conflict between the two brothers. Ultimately, this moment of weakness became the turning point in Esau's life. His decision to trade his birthright for a temporary meal would come to define his future. The Bible uses this event as a powerful reminder of the importance of considering the long-term effects of our decisions, particularly when it comes to the choices that shape our character and destiny. Just as Esau was deceived by his hunger, we must be mindful not to let temporary desires cloud our judgment and lead us away from what truly matters in life. Esau's immediate consequence of his impulsive decision was the loss of his birthright, something far more valuable than the meal he had just eaten. After he ate the stew, he despised his birthright, Genesis 25 verse 34, unknowingly forfeiting the inheritance that came with it. This birthright included a double portion of the family's wealth, the leadership of the family, and the spiritual blessings that would pass from father to son. Although his physical hunger was satisfied, he had given up a future of prosperity, honor, and responsibility. In the long term, Esau's decision triggered a cascade of consequences, particularly in his relationship with his brother, Jacob. After Esau's careless decision, the tension between the brothers only grew. As Jacob later deceived their father Isaac to receive the blessing meant for Esau, the conflict reached new heights, Genesis 27. This rivalry would continue to shape their lives, with Esau's loss of his birthright causing bitterness and strife between them. The choice to trade his birthright for a single meal led to ongoing division and conflict, deeply impacting Esau's future. When Esau realized the full weight of his decision, his regret was evident, but it came too late. In Hebrews 12 verses 16 to 17, we see that Esau sought the blessing with tears, but it was no longer available to him. His emotional reaction highlights the reality that regret alone cannot undo the consequences of our actions. Regret, while powerful, cannot change the irreversible decisions we make, especially when they concern things of lasting value. Esau's tears and sorrow reflected his desire to change the outcome, but the consequences of his hasty choice were already set in motion. Esau's decision to sell his birthright not only led to personal regret but also reshaped his entire future. By giving up his birthright, Esau effectively removed himself from the path of leadership in the family and the blessings that came with it. Even though he later sought to regain what he had lost, the moment of weakness couldn't be undone. His future prospects were altered forever, showing that some decisions, once made, cannot be undone, and their consequences ripple through our lives. This story serves as a powerful reminder that we must carefully consider the long-term impact of our choices. Esau's regret didn't undo the damage, and in life, we often cannot go back and fix the mistakes made in moments of weakness. It's important to think beyond immediate desires and to weigh the consequences of our actions. The price of a moment's indulgence can sometimes be the loss of something irreplaceable, as Esau discovered all too painfully in his own life. One of the key lessons from Esau's story is the importance of self-control, especially when the stakes are high. Esau's decision to trade his birthright for a meal was an impulsive one, driven by immediate hunger and desire for comfort. This moment of weakness serves as a reminder that acting on impulse can lead to regret later. In our everyday lives, we often face situations where instant gratification, whether it's indulging in something temporary or avoiding a difficult decision, can result in consequences that are far more significant than the momentary satisfaction. Esau's story urges us to pause and consider the long-term effects of our actions. Esau's failure to recognize the value of his birthright highlights the importance of valuing what's truly important in life. His disregard for the birthright, which represented not just material wealth, but leadership, legacy, and responsibility, reminds us that we should prioritize things that have lasting value. In life, we can be tempted to focus on temporary pleasures or shortcuts, but true fulfillment comes from valuing things like relationships, faith, and integrity. Esau's lack of appreciation for these deeper values led to the loss of something irreplaceable, teaching us that what seems insignificant in the moment may have great lasting significance. Another lesson from Esau's tragic decision is the importance of thinking beyond the immediate moment. Esau, driven by hunger and impatience, couldn't see the long-term consequences of his actions. This serves as a reminder that the choices we make today, particularly when driven by momentary desires, can have a lasting impact on our futures. In our fast-paced world, where instant satisfaction is often prioritized, Esau's story teaches us to slow down, assess the long-term outcomes, and make decisions that align with our greater values and goals. While Esau made a tragic choice, his story also teaches us about repentance and restoration. In Genesis 27 verses 34 to 38, Esau weeps for the loss of his birthright and seeks a way to reverse the consequences of his decision. Although he couldn't undo the past, his sorrow demonstrates the possibility of learning from our mistakes. Even when some decisions can't be changed, there is always room for growth, repentance, and the opportunity to make things right in the future. It reminds us that failure is not the end of the road. There's always a chance to seek forgiveness and start afresh. Ultimately, Esau's story emphasizes the importance of learning from our mistakes and making better choices in the future. While some things can't be undone, each decision is an opportunity to reflect, learn, and grow. Esau's regret and attempt to change the outcome of his impulsive decision are valuable lessons for all of us. They remind us that, while we may not always get second chances, the path forward lies in repentance, reflection, and striving to make wiser choices as we move forward in life. Esau's story is a powerful reminder of the consequences of impulsive decisions and the importance of thinking before acting. In his moment of weakness, Esau traded his birthright, the future promise of leadership and blessings, for something as fleeting as a bowl of stew. This tragic decision teaches us valuable lessons about the importance of self-control, making thoughtful decisions, and understanding the long-term impact of our actions. We can learn from Esau's mistake and avoid similar missteps by pausing to reflect before making decisions that could affect our futures. Now, consider your own life. What areas are you tempted to make quick decisions without thinking about the future? Whether it's in relationships, finances, or career choices, sometimes we make decisions in the heat of the moment without considering the long-term consequences. Esau's story challenges us to take a step back and evaluate the impact of our choices. How can we better manage our impulses and think about the future? This reflection can help guide us toward making wiser, more deliberate choices in every aspect of our lives. If you found Esau's story insightful and want to dive deeper into other biblical lessons, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We will continue exploring these powerful stories and the valuable lessons they teach us about life, faith, and the importance of making wise decisions. Be sure to join us for more discussions on how biblical characters can guide our choices today. Thank you for watching. I hope you found Esau's story as thought-provoking as I did. Let this serve as a reminder to think carefully about our decisions and their long-term impact. As we reflect on Esau's life, let's strive to make wiser choices going forward, considering not just the immediate moment, but the future we want to build. As you go forward in life, remember that every decision, big or small, can shape your future. Let Esau's story inspire you to take a step back when faced with important choices, think about the long-term consequences, and make decisions that align with your values and the future you envision.